Phobia Cogswell. Everybody wave hi to my Skype, which I'm probably going to get DDoS now because I let everybody see it.
Hi, Adam Skype.
Hi, Adam Skype. We have 3 people joining us on the podcast this week. DeClaude, Punch, and Chira are here.
Hey. Yes, we are.
Good evening.
Everyone waved already, so we're good there. If you guys are not patrons, you need to go check out patreon.com/T-Force Network because we are releasing the Corki episode with Corki Extraordinaire Lapman. And they talked for over an hour about specifically Corki. And then up next, we actually have a Nami player who is a professional level Nami player who is going to talk. So that's our next support after that. Those all come for this month of July. So if you want to get in there and you want to get those podcast episodes, get your money in before the 1st of August because as soon as your credit card is charged and I see it's charged, that stuff goes right to you. Replay reviews, if you haven't gotten those to us, send it off right now. We will take care of you. And if you want to get a replay review in for the month of, I guess it's technically month of July because that's what you're paying for, then yeah, go be a patron. Go out there, put your credit card down and get better at this game. We're helping a lot of people. We've had a lot of great feedback on that. As well, we've also had a lot of great feedback on our sponsor, who is sponsoring this last episode of this week, which is the Red Soap Company. I've been talking about them all the time. You guys already know that they make the best soap out there. This side of the, I was going to say west, but this is a pirate episode. So this side of the Atlantic? Pacific? I don't know. Give me something,
Some
guys.
sea. Some sea.
This side of the Dead Sea? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds piratey.
I need like a pirate pun for this. DeClaude, is there like a soap
I thought we banned pirate puns.
There are no such thing as pirate puns. I've never heard one in my life, and I don't think I ever will. I don't know what a pirate pun is.
Right. Guys, don't forget to go check them out, radsoap.com, please. They're making awesome soap like I'm showing you guys right here. The Score sports bar. It smells fantastic, and it's lemongrass and sweet orange. You can pick this up for 20% off over at radsoap.com. Use offer code TForce. That is our intro for this week. We are jumping right into 5.14 patch notes because it is a pirate's life for all of us.
Could you use that soap for washbuckling?
I could.
Hate everything.
Wash? Did you say washbuckling or swashbuckling?
Yes, washbuckling.
Because you wash with soap.
I like that one. Pretty good.
Thank you.
You cannot get banned for pirating the podcast. We actually we enjoy it. We want you to download our episodes and share it with everybody because they're free. So what do we care?
Pirate our podcast.
Wait, not the Nami. Pseudonot is the next one. Who is going to be the Nami? Just so you guys know, it's Pseudonot. Daze is in the chat, but she can't join us tonight, so she's like writing to me. So you're probably going to see like the video move a lot as I move Skype around. All right, let's roll right into patch 5.14 patch notes because this is the Bilgewater event. This is about pirates. Who's ready? Are you guys ready to talk about Misfortune and Gangplank tonight?
Yar!
Yar!
Yar! Yes, we are.
All right, these guys. Yes, we are. Yeah, we're not doing it right. We're terrible. You know what? You'd really think for like an event theme something like DeClaude to be in like.
Pirate mode.
Costume?
Hat.
Mode. Yeah.
Eye patch.
I don't have costumes.
Bird.
Yeah, who has a bird? Don't one of you have a rat you can put on your shoulder. That's close enough.
Yeah, that's pretty
On the
good.
other side of the room.
Rats run around the deck, right, of the ship?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how they think the Black Plague got spread to Europe.
Well, that's
There
why
you
you have
go.
to have a cat on board.
Yeah,
It's bad
rats.
luck to not have a cat on board. Don't you know?
Where's your crazy cat, Adam?
I don't know. She's over there doing something. So let's talk about Misfortune first because she is in the patch notes and because the Gangplank, he got totally reworked. Misfortune, she got changed in this patch so that she has had a visual update. She now flings her arms back when she shoots. And according to Punchinello, that has nerfed her completely. She's worthless.
It totally out of viability now. She looks completely ridiculous. Lending phase is all about making a statement. And if I look like one of those noodly guys that sit on top of car dealerships while I'm shooting my guns, I can't make any statements. People are just going to laugh at me. So, yeah, unplayable.
Q double up now deals 150% damage if the first shot kills an enemy unit. So those of you unaware, Q double shot bounces to the second unit behind it, or the nearest unit behind it, doing damage. So it'll do 150% now if you kill a minion and harass with it. Doesn't favor fools. Bounce logic is now more predictable. Double up will attempt to find a target directly behind the first. If no target is found, we'll go to the closest target in a 60-degree angle. Bounce angle, 60 degrees.
I actually feel like this part is the bigger buff of the two. The 150% damage, though, is nice, and it's a strict buff. Can't argue with that. But if you are saving your Q to last hit a minion every time, harassment, that's really telegraphed. So a good player is just going to stand to the side and not get hit. Now, the second part of this, where they increased the predictability That's nice because that just makes it that much easier to actually aim your Q, which was notoriously unpredictable and very hard to harass with.
Yeah.
It should be a lot
It was
easier.
like the Veigar one where it was kind of like an AoE. It would just hit the one next to it.
I mean, sometimes it would just go like veer off in a 90-degree angle, and you're stuck wondering that's not even possible. How did that happen?
60 degrees. Shouldn't hit one right next to it, so. Have you tried it? Anyone who played it yet?
I've been
I
at
just
work all
don't trust
day.
the game. But,
Me too.
yeah.
So.
What do you want from me? I'm giving you what I think, then we come back. We always do that now, though. We give you what we think, we come back later, and we tell you if we were right or wrong.
Yep.
That's right.
That's how this podcast works. So, make it rain, or excuse me, let's go Impure Shots first. Impure Shots has now had the grog-soaked bullets removed and no longer applies grievous wounds. So, rip grievous wounds. I think that makes two
Ryze
people left
campaign.
in the game with grievous wounds. Is that
Getting rid of
correct?
them.
There's Varus and
Varus has it?
Dom named them
Yeah.
off a while ago. I can't remember who else was the second one.
Varus has it if you're
Z?
standing in his E.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up while you talk.
Soraka removes grievous wounds with her R. And Katarina.
Yes, Katarina.
Yeah, there's Cat.
Pooh. Thank you, Twitch chat, because didn't know that. Yes, Katarina Ferris. And then there's also Merlin Namakan. And Ignite. So there you go. There's the Grievous Wounds. One last thing with Grievous Wounds in this game. Other than that, Set Sail. On activation, it grants the Strut's movement speed bonus, and the cooldown has been decreased to 12 seconds.
Now, I thought there was a change in the PBE where while Misfortune was shielded, she wouldn't lose her passive, but I don't see that in the notes here.
Apparently, she pretty much loses her passive all the time, anytime she's hit.
So that's kind of a letdown because I was actually looking forward to that. Oh well, guess we won't talk about it. You mentioned the cooldown will get reduced by 4 seconds as well, right? From
Yes.
16 to 12 seconds. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have, but since any tick can take it away, I just don't see this being a huge deal. Especially since you activate W while you're trading. So you're going to Q and then hit W to start trading with it. I mean, marksman, they're just going to take your passive off immediately.
Yeah, it's like a bad Draven W. Because that you don't refresh.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to get within range of somebody, but the more time you're spending, like the earlier you hit W, and then the more time you're spending getting there, the less time you have to actually take advantage of that attack speed it gives you and bonus damage. So.
And you should already have Strut up anyway, unless you were hit.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the situation, but I'm assuming you'll be using this to catch up when you don't have Strut activated, obviously.
Andrew in the chat says the shield thing went through. So if you have a shield on, you don't lose Strut.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's actually a big deal in my mind.
Yeah, that it definitely is.
I'm thinking Misfortune is going to run Bloodthirster now. So you can stack up that shield and then go in with your trade with Q and W and then stick on them for a while before they break their shield to take Strut off.
Previously, wasn't she just stacking pure AD anyway with hardly any attack speed? Maybe a Zeal.
A long time ago when Genja played her.
That's how I've always
I haven't seen her played in so long, I don't even know what the ideal build is anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. I would assume it's probably just flat AD to go with 150% damage on Q.
But, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do the Bloodthirster first now, and now she's got some obvious synergy with Janna. So I like that change for Strut. Pretty nice.
Make it rain slow has been increased. It was 25, 35, 45, 65. It is now 40, 45, 50, 55, 60% slow. So gigantic slow now. You're 1 point wonder now.
Yep.
It's
super slow.
It's slower early, less slow later.
Right.
Which
since it's your 1 point wonder, it's
only at rank 5 it's less though. Yeah.
Right.
pretty nice change.
Overall, do we think this puts Misfortune in any sort of viable spot other than maybe being a solo queue?
Well, it's a one-hit wonder, so...
No, I mean the whole entire champion, not just Make It Raid.
Oh. I don't like the loss of Grievous Wounds. Just because I don't like that they took away my Executioner's Calling.
It's going the way...
I'll get rid of it.
It's going the way of dodge.
So, it is. I just gotta accept
the
that.
soon-to-be extinct Grievous Wound.
She was one of the few. That was part of, why you played her.
Yeah. I don't know. That update's nice and all. Probably makes them a little more fun to play in normals, and you got those few people that can play her in ranked. But the only thing that I could think that... I mean, you get more harass in lane, and that's what she was really good at before, was the Q harass, and then getting attack speed through W to do more damage. That's why, again, Genja not building any, because W gave you so much on activation. the only thing I can think of is like with impure shots is that you're using it to reposition yourself or position yourself really quickly if you've been hit.
But then again, that means you're saving it to do that, and you're not taking advantage of the attack speed,
The
which
damage.
I know
is
that's
just really weird. So it's got multiple uses now. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, ultimately, it's just going to make it's going to have the player who's playing Misfortune have to make a decision between, hey, do you want a damage boost here, or hey, do you want a potential ability to be able to run faster if shit hits the fan, or you need to catch somebody. So like now there's a little bit more thought to those choices, since for the most part, other than Misfortune's just randomness, she is a pretty easy AD carry to play otherwise. I can't stand the new ult animation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it stems off of her attack, her auto attack animation. It's just her auto attack animation sped up, which is her doing this,
Yeah,
just waving her arms around.
the
demoed this
Punchinello,
earlier
the Punchinello
episode.
flail.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so she's good at two things, right? She's good at wombo combo with Curse of the Sad Bullet Time, and she's good at lane bullying.
does
Curse
this
of
mean
Sad Bullet Time
Misfortune?
hasn't changed, but that's not really in the meta right now.
Right.
And lane bullying, I don't know. I feel like there's still better champions like
Right.
Graves and Draven.
Does this so when she activates Strut, that gives her the full 70 movement speed, right? So if you only had stacked at 35 and you press Strut, you get 70 instead of 35. Because Strut gains movement speed over time.
I believe so.
The bonus is increased by 8 each second up to a maximum bonus of 70. So pressing Strut automatically gives you 70.
Right.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, you know what? In a trade situation, it's nice being able to press it and have that full bonus of 70, because now you can do your orb walking at the target and be in a better position to get more autos off. So overall, I like the change. I think it makes her a bigger bully in lane.
Does her W go on cooldown when she activates it, or when it ends?
I don't know.
Good question.
Because like
that
how
comes up
long?
It goes on cooldown as soon as you activate it.
Okay, so how long does it last?
6 seconds.
Okay, so you basically it's a 12-second cooldown. You have 6 seconds where you aren't having full movement speed bonus. 6 seconds isn't. I mean, it can be a lot of time in fights, but in the grand scheme of things, you should be able to use impure shots quite a bit. So you're going to be running around with your strut move speed bonus in combat kind of whenever you want. I think this is going to become a situation where like you fight basically as hard as you want to with impure shots when it's up, and then you dip out before it ends so you can get into a safe sort of spot.
But damage still takes it off, though. Keep that in mind.
Yeah,
It does.
if you get hit, even if you have Strut, it removes it.
Okay.
That's where I think the shields will be a big play
Will
in
be
determining how
helpful.
good she is.
You know what?
Yeah,
All
she is gonna need like Janna or Lulu help to really take advantage of that to the maximum ability.
Punch, would you consider running barrier over heal?
Oh,
her?
I have before.
Just because of this mechanic? Like, does it
That's
make
not
it
a bad
more
idea, really. I mean,
enticing?
heal is just really good to just because you got two people in a lane, right? So you
Right.
can not only save yourself, you
Right.
can save your lane mate.
And you get a little bit of movement speed,
That's pretty damn tempting.
but this will give you more movement speed for the time that your
Yeah,
barrier's
fuck
up
the
while you're
support.
running away.
It's all about me.
Fuck.
I don't know. I'm looking at all these. You guys are talking about movement speed and moving quicker and having it slow, and I'm just like, why not Draven? Like, if you're playing Misfortune,
Well-
why not just play Draven? Because Misfortune's a shittier version
Well,
of
because
Draven.
Draven's
right
a
now.
lot harder to play, but
Yeah, but Misfortune's
That's
just
what it is, too.
Misfortune's like Draven light, just because she moves around and slows.
I hear you. I'm on the Draven train.
Oh, yeah, you got your first mastery with Draven, right?
That's right.
Good for you. Well, let's move on to the next champion that got a rework in this patch. So we do have Gangplank, who has been, I'd say, more or less significantly changed. And I'm going to screw something up with this Gangplank stuff, because I still don't fully understand his the whole serpent thing. Does he get a serpent every time he Qs now?
Every time he kills a unit, I think.
The bonus gold that he gets from Parlay, he gets that bonus gold in Silver Serpents. So if he gets
So he
8
has to
bonus
kill it.
gold, then he'll get 8 Silver Serpents.
And then he uses the
Okay.
serpents at the shop to upgrade his cannon barrage.
Right, and it costs 500 Serpents to upgrade
Each time?
each time.
Okay. Got it. Okay, let's talk about him. So, Gangplank has been changed. His passive, Trial by Fire. Gangplank's basic attacks periodically ignite the target, dealing 20 plus 10 time Gangplank's level plus 120% bonus AD. Bonus true damage over 1.5 seconds and granting Gangplank 30 movement speed for 2 seconds. That's the first part of his passive. So every time he had to auto attack you, he's gaining movement speed, and he's doing 1.2% bonus AD. Extra
Sounds
damage.
pretty damn scary.
20 plus 10 time Gangplank's level plus 1.2% bonus AD. And he does have a new, his E is Powder Keg and Trial by Fire. Destroying a Powder Keg instantly readies Trial by Fire and grants it bonus movement speed. So if you destroy a Powder Keg, your Trial by Fire is automatically reset, meaning you can do more damage and gain more movement speed when you auto attack.
Did you guys see the champion spotlight with the powder keg?
I didn't
and
watch
the
it,
neat
no.
little stuff they were doing in there? It's pretty cool. You know, like throwing one over a wall where an enemy couldn't destroy it, and then throwing one that just barely overlaps it on the other side of the wall to chain them together. And as it's blowing up, throw a third one in the radius of the second one. So you extend its range a little bit, and you get all those bonuses and extra damage.
Sounds complicated.
It is complicated, and it looks pretty awesome, though, when it's pulled off.
It looks like it's pretty fun to play.
I watched Gangplank with that powder. We'll talk about Powder Keg. That's E. So the his old E got removed. Powder Keg now has a passive. Gangplank stores a charge of Powder Keg every few seconds up to a maximum of 2 plus 1 time Cannon Barrage's rank. So it's 2 until you upgrade it, then it's 3, upgrade it again, 4, upgrade it again, 5. You can have 5 Powder Kegs at max rank.
Wow.
Gangplank sets up a powder keg at the target location for 60 seconds, which connects to other kegs, like you said. It has 3 health and takes 1 damage each time Gangplank or an enemy attacks it, and passively loses 1 health every 1.5 seconds down to 1. If an enemy champion scores the last hit, the keg is disarmed and they earn 10 gold. However, if Gangplank kills it, the triggering attack is splashed as physical damage to surrounding enemies. Explosions ignore 60% of the target's armor, and the enemy champion takes bonus physical damage.
Did Gangplank just become the new Fiddlesticks with 5 kegs in a bush?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like the new Shaco, the new Fiddle, the new just wait for somebody to show up and
they
then,
don't
oh, hey, surprise.
There's the thing. They don't do more damage, though, if you have more of them.
Yeah,
But
they can only get hit by 1 keg.
Yeah.
Okay.
The damage was... It just expands the radius of it, of the damage that it does.
But that's the next piece of it.
It's like a Ziggs bomb.
As powder
Yeah,
keg,
okay.
powder keg goes off, it ignites all the other powder kegs chained to it and makes them blow up as well. Something that's nice to point out is if parlay was used to detonate a powder keg, the explosion plunders every champion or every enemy it kills. So if you use it in lane and you drop in the middle of it, you can get a whole bunch of parlay procs, just like you can get Tiamat's procs off of parlay.
Okay. Well, then that'd be a solid way to potentially, if you need to like wave clear or something to get those silver serpents. It's a quick way to be like, hey, blow up that powder keg, collect your money.
That's what I was watching. That's how I was watching a Gangplank use it earlier. He was dropping powder kegs in the wave, getting them low, and then queuing it to get a ton of stacks.
I think there's a couple other small details to mention here. One is that powder keg doesn't cost any mana, so you can throw these down all willy-nilly.
Whenever you want.
That's a good point.
The second is that the arm time, so when you put it down, it's got 2 seconds before it loses 1 health and 2 seconds before it loses another health. That decreases to 1 second level 7 and 0.5 seconds level 13. Second arm pretty quickly around the mid-game once you hit that level 13 mark. Whereas in lane early on, like it's going to tick down a lot slower, and you're probably your enemy laner is going to contest you to last it those.
Mm-hmm.
Turrets do not target the kegs, by the way.
Yeah, so you can't use them. Parlay change. Gangplank shoots a target enemy with his pistol, dealing physical damage and applying on-hit effects, though not trial by fire. Parlay can critically strike. If Parlay kills a target, Gangplank regains 25 mana and plunders an equal amount of gold and silver serpents. And then he uses Silver Serpents to bring Cannon Barrage. It does 20 physical damage up to 120 plus 1.0 AD ratio. And it plunders 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gold with every point you put into it. Previous Gangplanks, a lot of them were actually maxing like W to just have the sustain in the lane and using your passive and E to do the damage, and your parlay would be to get the gold. Kind of wonder if it's similar with now you're maxing Powder Keg and parlay like last. And
You're
still using your passive.
Powder keg to get that wave clear.
Yeah, powder keg to get the wave clear and a ton
money.
of money so you can upgrade your ultimate really fast.
Would you upgrade that over parlay?
I'm considering it. I think Powder Keg might be the max, because Parlay is great because it restores 25 mana, but you're just using, at that point, you just use it the last hit, kind of like a Veigar Q. You're just using it to last hit rather than to level it up. And
the damage on Powder Keg skill is a lot better too. Along with the slow, it goes from 40 to 80%. That's ridiculous.
That's crazy that it actually adds Gangplank a bit of CC, so now like his lane is gankable. That's so nice.
Yeah. Again, I'm not sure.
Does so much. I would be surprised if they don't touch this later.
Yeah.
Oops.
I mean, with the heavy slow and the 60% target's armor removal.
Well, it almost becomes a situation if, like, let's say you do max Powder Keg and then you're able to get your Trial by Fire. Like, you land Powder Keg, Trial by Fire goes off, you hit them for a bunch of damage. Like, depending on who you're laning against, for the most part, that might completely zone them out for the rest of the time that they're still in the lane. Because, like, that's a significant chunk of damage, and when you're adding true damage on top of it from Trial by Fire, like, it doesn't matter who you're using it on, it's still going to do a big chunk of damage. So
yeah, I'm looking at the ratios though, like the numbers. The physical damage change in Q goes from 20 to 45 at rank 2 and 45 to 70, then to 95. So that makes Q a little bit more of to max. Like I said, I was considering maxing E just because Powder Kegs did do 8110, but it looks like Q does more. You don't necessarily need to do it for the gold, which is nice, but you get more silver servants more quickly, which is another good option, because that way you can always upgrade your cannon at the base more when you hit those ranks. You gain an equal amount of silver servants as you do gold. So if you're maxing Q, you get 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing a QE max.
Probably.
W last. Yep.
W, Gangplank scarfs down a large quantity of citrus fruit, removing all crowd control, affecting him and healing him. Again, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150 plus 9, or excuse me, 0.9%, or 0.9 AP ratio.
Does APGP still live?
With 15% of missing health. This makes APGP even better. No.
Even better? Oh, goodness.
No, not unless... Well, yeah, you know what? APGP does kind of still live, but I doubt it. It's kind of like one of those where it's just silly and for fun.
I mean, there's still an AP ratio on his cannon barrage.
Does anybody else
have any ratio, though?
Miss that they took away the slurping noise when he uses his W now?
I don't know if... I read something on Reddit where they someone it was a baseless claim where they said they were going to put it back in or they didn't mean to remove it, but I'm not going to like point out what they
Gotcha.
Bullshit. I think it's another one of those like memes, like people just making bullshit up. So yeah,
I do have to say, Riot, please, the slurp is what made that ability for me. Don't care if it removes CC, don't care if it heals, just want to hear slurping.
That's right.
I'm messing with him right now, and yeah, you really, as soon as you get I would do QE first in the first couple levels, obviously. I know it's nice to have the W if you're worried about an early ganker, but it's amazing to see the Silver Serpents jump when you parlay that keg and get a bunch of kills. So you have to parlay the keg to finish it, by the way, in order to get the plunder from the things it kills. So
yeah,
but still,
you have
awesome
to use parlay to do it. Yeah, but it's also really the biggest thing I think for me here is the fact that you regain 25 mana now when you Q. Because before it was huge. Like it was pretty much RNG for him, as if you want a lane early based on a couple crits or based on the damage you could do, because you had a finite amount of resources, and every time you gain 25 back when you're last hitting, you can at least decide what you're going to use it for. Let's talk about Cannon Barrage. So Cannon Barrage pretty much works the same way as it did before. With the passive now, he can store additional charges of Powder Keg. Gangplank signals his ship to fire 12 waves of cannonballs among the target over 8 seconds, and clusters of 3 every 2 seconds. And they slow by 30% for 0.5 seconds when they hit. So same thing as it was before, Cannon Barrage. But every time you upgrade it, it does different things. An initial X-radius cannonball lands in the center of the barrage, dealing a cluster's worth of true damage and slowing enemies for 60% for 1.5 seconds. That's first upgrade. Second upgrade, allies within the area gain 30% movement speed, persisting for 2 seconds after leaving it. Gangplank can also benefit from this effect. And lastly, fires 6 additional waves with increasing rate of fire over the duration. That's why I really would like to just for funsies play APGP and get to the very last rank of that and see how much damage I could do with my ultimate, like a wombo combo.
Now, how much damage does the ult do now in comparison to what it used to do?
Does more.
Like, is it Is it significantly more? Is it like 10% more? What?
I don't have the old numbers in front of me. I do know it does more damage.
According
though.
to chat, it does more damage at ranks 1 and 2, but we don't know how much.
Do you know what it was, Adam? Because I'm looking at it right now. Rank 1, 12 waves of cannonballs.
I don't remember what it was
50
previously.
damage every half second. So
I'm sure the wiki somewhere in here could
300 damage.
tell me what it
we'd have to
was.
search for it though. I really like. I really like the changes as a whole. I mean, to be honest, I think Gangplank looks really fun to play.
It adds way more complexity.
The first upgrade here for Death's Daughter on Cannon Barrage that adds like this little circle to the center of Cannon Barrage. That's really interesting
That's cool,
because you can
yeah.
use that as a dueling mechanic. You got to aim your ult in the right spot, and then they get hit with that giant cannonball.
Let's see here. I've got it. Magic damage per second is 75, 120, 165 on old Cannon Barrage.
Say that again?
75, 120, 165
And that's per second.
per second.
Okay, this is every half second.
Well, the new one's every half second. The old one
Right.
was every second.
And yeah, Parlay's damage stays the same, and so does the bonus gold with 25, 45, 70, 95, 120.
So you're getting 25 more damage a second with the new one at rank 1.
Mhm.
That's pretty good.
Cooldown 125, 110, 95, 100 mana, 600 global range. Same thing. I don't have the old page up.
Global range is the same.
Wait, what was it?
Mana is 100 at all ranks.
Yep.
Cooldown 140, 130, 120.
130, 120. Where does it? 125, 110, 95.
Okay, so the cooldown's longer now.
There you go. Cooldown's longer, but that
But it
makes
does
sense because
more.
it does more.
But yeah, it does way more.
Yeah. So it does more damage. Overall, I think the Gangplank rework is it's going to be pretty successful. I like the changes. Like I've always liked Gangplank because I just pretty much like the parlay piece of it where you're plundering gold and you can crit. But now that you're adding some dynamic pieces to his kit through the upgrades on Cannon Barrage and the powder keg, it makes it so it's more appealing to me to want to play Gangplank, even if he is my favorite champion.
Well, and now he has a trade mechanic with his passive to where it's like, oh, hey, he doesn't just like potentially poke at you with his Q because now he's sort of more inclined to use it on minions so he gets the mana back than ever before. But he's going to be running at you to try to smack you in the face with a true damage fire sword. So let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I got to try him later.
Yeah, when I asked you the other day, Adam, if you were excited for this change, you were hesitant.
Yeah, I was. I haven't really read over all the numbers and stuff. I just like I haven't read over Fiora. I've had people message me like, "Oh, Fiora, this and that." I'm like, I haven't really read over it. I don't really have the time to look over it. Unfortunately, some days, just like some days I can't. But yeah, everything looks better like in his kit. I think they've upgraded him. Does it? I
It
don't
feels like
think
it takes a while to get those first 500 Silver Serpents.
I'm
though.
sure it does. I'm sure you're going to have to spend a lot of time parlaying. But does this like bring him into competitive viability? I know we saw Gangplank before, but that was Runeglaive Gangplank, which is RIP, can never happen again. I don't know. I think someone might find a way around it, but at the same time, he's pretty much Gangplank old with a little more utility and damage.
Yeah, I think the utility helps him out the most. Because I'm trying to think of how he would be played in competitive scene, right? Would he be a split pusher? I mean, Champion Spotlight, they showed him split pushing and they pulled off some random bullshit in order to escape. Okay, that's nice, but how sustained? How often can you really do that? But I think all the upgrades you could do to Cannon Barrage and all the utility powder keg adds, he could be a pretty decent team fighter.
If you can get the powder
He's going to have a lot
kegs
more
down.
movement.
Right, getting the powder kegs down is gonna be the hard part.
I don't know. I have to go play with him. I still think Trinity Force is probably the way to go. Or if you're going to be that split push, it's TMX like you were previously. He's got a lot of varying build paths and how you want to play him and what you're going to do.
I'd say, like, I don't even know. Do you think he'll even need Tiamat's anymore with free wave clear? Like, it doesn't cost anything for his casks now. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't cost a thing for a powder keg. So
I mean, probably not. No, you could probably
like,
just go with
you're-
Trinity Force.
but that's the thing. Like, sure, Tiamat's is great for clearing waves, but when you already have an ability that has baked in, hey, I'm going to do a shitload of AoE damage, do you really need that much more AoE damage? Is that going to make the difference? Or is that like Sheen proc on turrets or whatever going to be a little bit better?
Yeah, that's why I've always liked Gangplank, though. He's got so many different builds. You can tank plank, you can crit plank, you can AP GP, you know what I mean? Like, now, AP GP is a little bit worse than it was previously, because I think W actually heals for less.
Gangplank?
Yeah, W heals for less.
Is Gangplank back?
No, because there's no
With the Silver Serpents?
It's Silver
Gotta
Serpent
bank
Plank.
those serpents.
Just to let you guys know that Remove Scurvy at max rank used to do 360. It now does 150 plus 15% missing HP. So it heals for less unless you have a ton of HP. And probably
Kind of a
even
panic
then.
situation.
Yeah, it really just pretty much gets you out of it and heals you for a little bit.
And it makes him so you should probably build him more of Bruiser than before.
Yeah,
potentially.
6 to 1, half dozen the other, I guess.
Yep.
All right, what are we going to talk about next? Since we got about a half an hour left in this podcast, we're going to try to make it through everything.
Yeah.
We can try.
We can sure as hell try. Let's go. We're going back in here. RE Charm change no longer causes monsters to freak out, regenerate, otherwise act unnaturally.
Okay.
Azir. Big changes on Azir. This one, I have a feeling that I'm going to analyze this incorrectly, so I'm going to throw that out there before it happens and discredit myself, because I'm fun like that. Passive, Shurima's Legacy removed. Will of the Emperor no longer gains attack speed based on Azir's cooldown reduction. Boo. W, Ryze, drop and give me 20 to 60. Now passively gains 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% attack speed. So he now has to put points in the W to gain that additional attack speed, rather than building. So he has less attack speed than he did previously?
Well,
he has
the most attack speed you could get before was 40%, because that's the max speed cooldown
because of
reduction.
the CDR.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this makes him worse a little bit earlier, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, he still needs to build, like, in the previous iteration of Azir, you still needed to build cooldown reduction in order to get that attack speed bonus. Now you just have to put points into it. But are you... when are you maxing your W?
Yeah, I think that's the big question.
That is the question, because if you aren't maxing it till late, you're not getting your attack speed till later in the game. But if you're maxing it early, you're getting that attack speed. So
with 40% cooldown reduction, he was getting 50% attack speed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So he gets 10% more attack speed at max rank W than he was previous.
The new way, yeah.
But he's
And
also
he is
he's also
probably
getting
getting a
more
point.
slow. But now his attack speed is I would say he'd have 30 attack speed now with the 40% cooldown reduction, assuming he's gotten a couple kills, because you're only going to have a couple points into W. You are not going to have nearly as much attack speed
Early. Right.
early and in the mid, when he was like arguably the most powerful.
Well, wait a second. Most powerful mid game. No, he's a late game champion.
I know he's late game. I get that, but he's also he's a beast in laning phase, and then once he gets his ultimate, he's pretty much a beast the entire game.
I mean,
to be honest.
so strictly he is gaining attack speed earlier now, because you get it as soon as you put a point in W.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's that first item that you buy that he's going to
Gave
get
you that first
outscaled.
item that you bought gave you like a double spike, and that it gave you more stats than you were actually buying it for. So like that was a great bonus. Now you actually have to put a point that you can't just purchase with whatever you earned from anything you did in lane. You're either gonna have to, like, you're gonna get it slower if you level a Ryze second, and if you're putting shifting sands, like any points into that before W, you're going to be getting your attack speed way slower in the game potentially than you would otherwise. So you're not going to be as strong in that mid game, like sort of thing. But as soon as you have max points in your W, you have more attack speed than you would otherwise, and then W becomes not necessarily a 1 point wonder, but it becomes a little better for 1 point.
Yeah. I'm on pro builds right now, just looking him up because I was curious of what he ranks second. It looks like E was always ranked second on him rather than W for the extra
Even
shield.
now?
No. Previously, like as a data ago.
Yeah, I'm wondering now if you're gonna still max E second.
Not if you want burst, like if you want the extra damage from all the soldiers attacking.
I guess
quickly.
the E was nice for those fancy all-ins where you would see Azir going balls to the walls, jumping on top of somebody and ulting them backwards. But they've changed E, so it's harder to do now.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't they?
Shifting power no longer knocks up the first enemy champion hit, which is kind of...
Yeah, it makes that E into ultimate a little bit harder to do.
So are you still are you you're still going to build cooldown reduction on him? Obviously, it's just not for that, right? Because it's just better to get more soldiers up, like you said.
I don't know.
Would you still build it? Would you rush it? Would you work it in like any other nuker, mid laner? Get a bunch of cooldown reduction? Because, I don't know. I'm thinking, when you think of a champion who benefits off of cooldown reduction, you do think of a Ryze, so...
Well, and
it's kind of weird.
If you're thinking about that too, does this mean that you might potentially buy an attack speed item on him early to make up for that lack of attack speed anyway?
So Nashor's Tooth.
Yeah, I mean, they
Right.
did just increase
Stinger.
the amount of AP you get from Nashers, so maybe you would see Nashers patched in because, let's look at it when Azir had first come out. People had all these cool ideas to build Nashor's Tooth, and then it kind of fell flat, and that isn't what people started to run. But I mean, I can conjecture that I can make an argument for getting a Nashor's Tooth
Yeah.
on
agree
him
with that.
potentially, but
It still grants you a cooldown reduction as well.
yeah, I mean, it gives you everything you need, and they increased the AP on it, but it I don't know.
I think that one's yeah. That one I don't know. That one's hard to say.
It's gonna take testing, and it's also gonna be something like how much does this weaken him during that mid game compared to what it was before? Like, let's say that he had a moderate mid game. How much does this drop it? Does it drop it by 20%? Is he 30-40% less effective?
I think he is. I think he's quite a bit less effective now that he's not building all that CDR to move the soldiers around. But it also makes it so that he has to be more skillful if he's building Nashers, because he has to be able to put his sand soldiers in the right places through the movement of Q to be able to do the damage. As well, not getting the shield, so if you knock somebody up as an all-in with E, you can't all-in in lane anymore when you knock them up.
You do still get the shield.
No longer. Oh, excuse me, it doesn't knock them up. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I know they were talking about removing the shield and the knockup, but yeah, thankfully they didn't do that.
Removing that
Thankfully for
knockup
Azir.
is pretty
It's
significant for
Yeah.
a lane Azir. He can't all-in you, which makes sense with somebody who's got so much poke. Should he be able to Q all-in you and knock, and have all that extra CC added to his kit?
He almost becomes because before you could kind of do those interesting engages or whatever. Now it's almost a situation where he's just counter engage, wave clear off important targets.
Poke.
Yeah,
He should be. It's more of like he's being played like he should be played, which is siege and poke.
yeah, that's exactly right. Now instead of being more of hey, I can run in, potentially assassinate if I can get enough damage off and do some fancy things, to hey, let's just either shove this out and counter engage with ult, or stop their engage with ult or whatever. I think you're going to be seeing Azir play up less and try to be aggressive, and more Azir playing back to really pick the moments that he potentially wants to do damage and to keep things like minions, players, whatever, off high priority targets.
But then once you hit that late game, though, you
just kill whatever you can get close to.
You're back to just being badass Azir that everybody fears.
All right, let's move on to patch notes. Darius Apprehend now briefly grants vision an area around the pole.
Gives him a bush checker on a long cooldown that you want to hold for killing.
I guess it makes it so it's not a surprise when you pull somebody. Like before,
Yeah,
if you
well-
put it into a lane, you're like, oh, I got somebody.
Well, it could have been a situation I'm going to
it's
pull
horrendous.
whoever was in that bush, and next thing you knew, 4 people came with them. It's okay.
Just
Hey, Mumu.
Well,
Yeah.
4 people are still going to come with him.
You
It's
just know a
now
half
have-
second sooner.
You have a moment to react now.
You have a moment to apprehend, to use that cooldown, and then to immediately flash when it was a bad decision and use that longer cooldown.
If you have amazing reflexes, yes.
Yep.
Q Time Winder on Ekko has been changed. It was 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 mana. It's now 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 mana. Phase Dive cooldown has been decreased from 15, 13, 11, 9, 7 to 13, 11 and a half, 10, 8 and a half, 7. People gonna bitch about this because I think Ekko's OP.
So I think the mana cost reduction on Q was to kind of offset the mana cost they gave his R.
Yep.
I guess they felt that, having that mana cost on R made Ekko spend too much mana on his spells. The phase dive, I don't know. Giving him more mobility, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that.
Well, we're going to see him we still see him. I'm going to see him a little bit more now.
I love how Adam's like he's still OP. Every time I play a game with Adam, we play against an Ekko. I feel like the Ekko gets fed, and Adam just yells his hatred for that champion.
Oh no, I don't think I've yelled hatred
my...
for Ekko in a while.
I got my butt kicked by an Ekko the other night on Malzahar. Remember?
That was Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really really bad.
That was when I heard you be like, God, I hate that champion.
Yeah, that was that wasn't good.
I just think it's funny that they're trying.
I underestimated his W.
I was about to say, I think it's funny that they mention it in the patch, in the notes, that they're trying to address the way they want Ekko to be played, and that's as a pretty much a stun bot with tons of utility. Because basically building tons of damage and smacking people into the next season is not as rewarding as grabbing a Cinderhulk and CCing entire teams with impunity. Which I think it's just interesting to me that they want him to be played more like a tank rather than a burst mage.
Well, I think they're saying the opposite.
Are they?
Because right now they're saying that
it's not. I read that wrong.
It's not as rewarding as playing as a tank.
Yeah, sorry.
And they're saying that they're watching tank. They acknowledge that they're not addressing tank Ekko in this patch, but they're watching it.
I don't know why I read that the opposite way. Apparently, I'm dyslexic today.
That's all right.
That happens.
We all have our days.
Well,
me every day.
Yeah.
I've seen, regardless of what that says right there, I've seen Ekko succeed as both an assassin and as a tanky pain in the ass that is stun locking your team into next season.
Son of a bitch.
Elise changes. Eek Kun stun duration has been increased from 1 to 2 seconds, and now it goes 1.6 to 2 seconds. So it gains 0.1 second with each rank you put in it. Spider form has also been changed. Spiderling damage on hit has been changed to magic damage. It was physical damage, so against Spiderling. Spiderling ratio on hit increased from 0.1 to 0.15. Spiderling movement speed increased by 10 to 355. And they fixed the bugs where Spiderlings wouldn't move or attack for 4 seconds after the initial cast of Repel.
So Cocoon basically became a 1-point wonder again.
Yeah.
Hooray!
That
didn't it used to be 2 seconds at all ranks?
Yeah, back in the day. When she was good. I am on the train. I mean, I know Chira talks about how he wants this to do and he doesn't like Elise and that, but I think if you're like an amazing Elise player,
you can make it work.
You can make it work. I think Elise is actually in a pretty good spot right now with Runeglaive out of the jungle.
Even with the Runeglaive changes?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, even with the Runeglaive changes. I mean, they're not doing damage to the person. They're just doing damage to help you clear faster so you can gank more.
But, like...
Isn't her clear speed really good, though?
Her clear speed is already fine on its own. You don't need Runeglaive. I would say still build Cinderhulk on her. Like, don't go Runeglaive on her.
Are you building any damage at all, or are you building pure tank?
I was still, for the most part, I was still seeing more success going the utility tank route because, like, with the way that they changed up her damage, you know, they've reduced the amount of damage that she does pretty consistently since when she was considered at the top of the Elise like charts for jungling when she was in like the top 3 junglers picked. It's one of those things where with the itemization changes, yeah, it's going to help out her damage, but if you're also building, there's an issue that if you're building the damage early, you're not taking enough during the mid game when you need to be able to survive, and you still hit that fall off cliff where it's like, hey, I was doing a bunch of damage early, but now I die too quickly to be able to make any use of that damage late. And if you build tanky, you don't do enough damage late to even be a threat if you get on a target other than just surviving and doing Cinderhulk damage.
I don't know.
So,
I think these changes and the changes to the AP itemization have actually made
the spiderling
changes out of the jungle.
The spiderling changes are going to help, and I want to say the Ryze changes are like between Ryze and Liandry's. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing that again. I'm just not on the Runeglaive train yet.
Well, what if instead of rushing a Runeglaive, you went Rangers into Liandry's? Or Rangers into Haunting guys, and then never picking up a jungle item instead.
You could definitely do that.
That could that alleviate, or could that level out the spike, or make the spike more, Could that give her a bigger power spike earlier to move that into the mid game when she's able to pick up Leandri's and
hopefully
Ryze? I guess really it is level out the power spike and make it better.
Yeah, and I would hope that you would be able to do something like that, but then you're going to still run in this situation where you're going to get the bonus health from Ryze, which is nice. You're going to get the extra utility from it, from the AoE increase and slow and all that stuff, but then you're still not going to have the armor and the magic resist that they ended up removing from Spider Form ages ago. Like you just have health at that point, and for the most part, it might just be my perception, but her like passive resist, like her natural resistances seem low. The magic resistant armor on their own. So how much does that health really help if that health is just tissue paper that you're saying is, there to mitigate damage?
Against like casters or magic damage enemy champions, do you think it'd be a good idea to build Abyssal on her because the spider's gonna do magic damage?
Abyssal used to be pretty stock. It was one of those situations where even if you were going utility,
it's even better now because the
yeah. With the spider AP, it definitely is better. But
yeah, we'll see. I think we'll wrap back around to let you play her a little bit more now that they've had.
Well,
some changes.
the other portion of
Nothing
that
but
too
buffs,
is
though. So
exactly. I'm glad that Riot's taken a look at her. And they have for like the past 3 patches. But the other thing is I want to make sure that weird bug that I was getting when I use her repel goes away, because I've never wanted to smash my head against my desk harder than when you go up in the... All right, and I've said this like 3 times at this point, but every once in a while when you would go to repel, and by every once in a while I mean like 1 in 3 times that I would do it, the cursor would stay as a target reticle. And it would stay as a target reticle until the next time I repelled onto somebody. But I had to repel onto a target, and if it was stuck that way, I couldn't ping. I couldn't like do a ping of I'm on my way. I couldn't do any of that. You can't ward. You can't cast anything with smart cast until you could get that repel off on a target. So like you could target a jungle minion and it might go away. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. It always went away if you targeted a champion. But I had a couple people actually say something on Twitter that they were running into a similar issue with like another champion. Somebody ran into it on Elise. So I haven't played her since this most recent patch has rolled out, and I haven't played her specifically because of that reason. For like the 6 or 7 games that I played her with the former changes and last patch and the patch before that. But I am looking forward to playing her again. As soon as that doesn't bother me.
It's a bug fix, and spiders aren't considered bugs. They're arachnids.
So Evelynn has got to change. Hate Spike has had the damage decreased. Was 40, 55, 70, 85, 100. Now it's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Our Agony's Embrace on the slow has been increased. Excuse me. Was 30, 50, 70. Is now 40, 60, 80. So she just loses. She loses some late game and mid and late game power through damage, but gains it back to the slow that she's applying. Thoughts?
Yes.
On Evelynn? Anything? No. Anything other than she's still probably
Let's call up Wrecker.
She's still. I still think she's pretty much a solo queue terror if played correctly.
I really haven't seen her that much. I acknowledge that she's pretty good right now. I'm just kind of surprised that I haven't seen her as much as I thought I would.
Didn't we see her in the what was it? Which one? OGN? No.
She's been played
OPL?
a little bit here and there.
Last week?
Professional events.
Yeah.
It's more of I got to keep my eye on this change. Kind of looked at. It's pretty much the same thing they say in the patch notes. I got to keep my eye on this because looking at it, having more slow late is great, but removing damage from a champion,
it hurts your opportunity to snowball.
Yeah.
Which always makes the champion a bit weaker.
It's definitely not going to help her and make her replayed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Callista had some just bug fixes. You can now properly queue up Q when after you auto attack, and Sentinel properly queues up to cast after basic attack completes. Moving on, Rumble, Flame Spitter. This is a pretty giant nerf to him. Is no longer damages untargetable units. No longer damages enemies who outrun Flame Spitter's distance. Because before it had a little bit more distance than it was. So it's because it was a dot. So it kind of applied a dot to you and did the damage even if you were outside of it.
Yep.
It applied a phantom dot.
It's happened to me before where I've flashed out of range and still died to the dot. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people.
And Flame Spitter not doing damage into bushes is a pretty significant change because you could just follow somebody.
Means?
I don't know if that's what that
means,
means, or if it means
yeah,
like
no longer damage from
Sonya's.
targetable. No, it's walking into bushes because you
Okay,
can't target something.
You can't see.
Yeah.
Well, like okay, so Teemo's hiding. You can't Flame Spitter him.
Can't Flame Spitter him. You can't Flame Spitter Teemo. You can't kill somebody as they walk into a bush and you don't have vision of it anymore. Because before you could keep your Q on and walk at them in the bush and do damage before they were able to.
Well, it makes sense. Like Pantheon can Heartseeker strike into a bush, but he's rooted in place. But still,
Yeah, I'm not sure what else. I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. I'm not sure what else it would be referring to unless we're talking about Zanyas, and I'm pretty sure Rumble can stand next to Zanyas and use Flame Splitter on them.
yeah, I'm pretty sure when somebody's Zanya's, they didn't take damage anyway. So
Right.
Yeah, well, it allows you to counterplay Rumble a little bit by walking into a bush that he doesn't have. Like, you can play and work
It
around
just
his Flame
seems
Spitter.
weird. Since it's an AoE ability, you would think that it would still hit people.
I think they're just
gotta
looking at
use
him
your
now.
harpoon.
I think they're looking at... this is interesting. Equalizer no longer damages untargetable enemies. So if we're looking at Q not doing that, doesn't mean you can't ult in a bush, because that wouldn't make sense if you can't ult in a bush and
Right,
drop
yeah.
Equalizer on him.
Right, exactly. Like if they disappear from vision for a
Here's the
second, they
clarification here.
not take damage there. doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't say so in the context either.
I'm thinking
Well,
like
target-
if Tahm Kench eats somebody, they're not going to take damage. Callista support.
I don't know. It's just weird that they
Vlad
had that
their
on the...
pool.
You know what? Well, you know what we do is
Right.
we just go walk into
Vlad
a
is
bush and we
pool.
go test it, and we come back
I mean,
next
maybe it was
week.
something like that where Vladimir would hit it by the dot,
think
then
that's
use
more what
W
it
would still
means.
take damage because he had
Sure.
a dot on it.
Right. Things where it probably shouldn't have been doing damage anyway. They call it phantom pain.
Yeah. The more I think about it, like I had to go back down and read. I forgot they changed that Equalizer beast before we started talking about it, because that wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense to be able to drop. You can't drop Equalizer in a bush. That wouldn't make sense at all. That would completely nullify that ultimate completely. So
Well, you
you're
just
right.
played. In that case, you just play Nocturne to counter Rumble. Ult every
Right,
time you
another
use the
example.
Equalizer, you're safe.
Another example, Craig Blaze in chat brought up is Fizz.
What's that?
True.
Fizz,
on
when
his-
he jumps on his pole,
Yeah.
so if he gets the dot on him and he jumps on his pole, he would probably still take damage before, whereas he wouldn't now.
Right. Kind of buggy, I guess, before. Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. More.
I
yeah,
feel better
that
about
makes-
this change now.
I do
So you
too.
can still hit Teemo.
Yeah, okay,
Good.
there you go. You can still hit Teemo. You can still hit people in bushes.
Burn 'em.
Because yeah, that does make more sense. They do point out in the notes though, something that everyone else should be aware of is that they are watching Rumble, and I think last episode I said they are gonna remove damage from Rumble because
Gonna get nerfed.
he's gonna get nerfed. Like I don't
And-
see any reason he doesn't get nerfed.
This is going back to the Rumble thing. Rumble always manages to come out again right around Worlds. So like this is like the usual time where Rumble is strong, then he's a sleeper for a while, and then he starts to roll his way back out in the pro scene as soon as people need him for major team fights. So maybe they're looking at to be like, hey, we don't want Rumble to just be the top lane monster that if you know what you're doing, you win a lot. I
They're
don't.
attacking Darius. Darius? No.
Yeah.
Well,
If
balls
he makes the
too.
Worlds.
Balls is
Yeah.
an amazing
Balls.
Rumble player.
Balls, yeah.
Corky
No,
and Jets
I don't
around the
agree with
corner.
that. I don't agree with that, Craig. I don't think they should increase his cooldowns because they increase his cooldowns. That means his heat goes down. They'd have to change
too
how his
fast.
heat works too. So
Yep.
you can't increase cooldowns because
Well,
of that
the-
reason.
Domino effect, yeah.
You wouldn't be able. It would be so much more difficult to be able to manage overheat.
Yeah.
You would be effectively losing out on a lot of what makes him strong, not just from his ability to cast a bit, like not just his ability to use abilities, but his abilities to make those abilities better. So it's like a double slap to the face.
If they do anything, they'll probably just remove a little bit of the dot damage on W
Yeah.
and maybe even out his shield a little bit. I don't. But Riot's kind of weird, and they might touch Equalizer and like reduce the slow significantly and reduce the damage. God knows what they'll do. But it's Riot we're talking about here. I would say that like the last. I was talking about the other day with somebody, and I think the last 5 patches, maybe 7, have all been really suspect in League. Like they've been doing some really awkward changes.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with them bringing out more drastic changes over time as opposed to putting them all in at once.
Right.
Because if you put them all at once, it's kind of
preseason.
hard to judge how they affect the game.
Well,
Yeah.
And in their defense too, like if you want to talk about keeping the game fresh, it has been pretty interesting to come into Borderline a different. Like, yes, you can say what you want about tank meta being back or anything like that with Cinderhulk and anything like that, but for the most part, things have been pretty spiced up about every 2 weeks.
Sometimes I just wonder.
Good. It's good for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
it gives us stuff.
If things didn't
about.
change, it would get a little stagnant.
Yeah,
probably just lose listeners based on the game interest being lost.
Sometimes, yeah, I agree with that, but I kind of like going back to the Street Fighter mentality where you force the community to learn to deal with things, and that's why I know we're walking to a whole other discussion of patch notes coming out every 2 weeks, and should they do these quicker patch cycles that they're doing? But they're pulling so many levers that we don't have time to learn a champion inside and out.
I don't even like that the way that was worded, Adam. I think the better way to word it is instead of Riot letting the player base innovate, they're forcing the innovation by changing the game up.
Yeah. Yes. Which I guess that's a discussion for another time. That's probably about a half an hour discussion there of argument. Is that a good or a bad thing? I guess we move into Ryze here, and we are almost done with all the champions. I guess we roll through the champions, come back for Runeglaive and the items next week, because I know Daze really wants to talk about Zeke's Herald. Ryze has had his passive stack duration has been decreased to 6 seconds. Q overload damage from 69.5, 130, 165, 200, 60, 85, 110, 135, 160. E spell damage went from 50, 66, 82, 98, 116 to 36, 52, 68, 84, 100. Ratio has been decreased to 0.2 from 0.3. So giant nerfs across the board on the amount of damage.
Nerfs across the board, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what more needs to be said about that. I mean, Ryze got to get hit pretty hard here. That Q damage late is dropped by 40. Spell Flux is down by 14 to 16 at all ranks, and the ability to power reduction.
I would rather the passive stack duration increase with level, like major levels, like 6, 11, 16, rather than...
And that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When they first reworked him, that's how it was, and they changed it to 10 flat.
I think it should be that way because I think he's still too powerful early. Like he has the ability to be powerful early through the damage he's doing. Now that it has been nerfed pretty significantly through the Q and E changes.
The Q early damage has not been nerfed. I guess it depends on how early you're talking about.
Well, the Q early damage has been nerfed.
I still the second point into it. Yeah.
So yeah, level 3.
That rank 1 is still 60. Yeah.
So what do you want? I mean, what do you want out of Ryze? Do you want him to be... You can't let that guy be a bully in lane, and he is a pretty big bully right now. Do these changes bring him back in line? Well, I haven't even played the new Ryze. I don't know. And every time I've played against him, I've never really felt like he was overbearing. But I do think there's there are other little tips and levers and pulleys I need to do.
I do think a lot of his bully potential came through his passive.
It did.
Lowering that by 4 seconds should be pretty helpful.
Indeed. Tahm Kench getting some buffs because Tahm Kench is the losingest champion in the game right now, sitting at 40%. Q Tongue Lash has had its damage increased to 80, 125, 170 to 15 to 60. It starts gaining at level 2. R Abyssal Voyage bonus damage ratio is now 468% rather than 456%. And the cooldown has been decreased from 160, 130, 100 to 120, 110, 100. I don't think this does anything for Tahm Kench, really. I still think giving a support a no level 6 power spike forces the character to be bad, or makes the character bad.
It
certainly makes laning phase really difficult.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play him, it seems more of like ranked 5s. You're playing around his ultimate, and you're pushing around the map very quickly. But
so I kind of feel like he's got the same problem that support Shen has. Like, I mean, if you look at Shen's first 3 abilities, you could look at those and say, yeah, he would make a pretty good support. But then at level 6, he gains no power in lane. Nothing.
No, but
he could use his ultimate to leave the lane and leave his marksman to 1v2. That's not going to work out very well. So he's kind of got to roam in order to. He's got to be creative in order to use it. And Tahm Kench is the same way.
This kind of sucks because his kit is almost better off if he was able to clear the jungle. Would be better off to be like, hey, I'm moving around a lot. If let's say Hecarim's playing top and that lane's pushed up. Let's take somebody on a voyage all the way from top lane down to bottom and make a 4-man gank. Rather than like, hey, I'm in lane, my ult does nothing for you. When you die and I back because I can't stop them from taking that turret, at least I can get us back to lane quicker.
Well, even
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Damage is nothing.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Tahm Kench will see more success in team games as he's a team play centric champion. Solo queue, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, every time I see a Tahm Kench, I'm like, free win. Thank you, base.
I
Tahm
will
Kench.
say I have been kind of impressed by his damage though, like his ability to when he gets to smack somebody over a long duration. It's really like if you're playing against a Tahm Kench and you can't necessarily kill him because you're kind of low health and you have to run away from him, he can chase you and do some damage, but it's one of those situations he's not going to burst you down, so he's going to be chasing you a while, and by the time like he's going to kill you, your team should show up.
Yeah, we talk about playing against Tahm Kenches, and I'm in the same boat where I haven't seen one that impressed me. And I think that's because a lot of people are still probably playing him incorrectly. I haven't seen one good application of his ultimate at all. There's so much potential there, but I've never even seen anybody use it.
I've seen ultimates where it's like, oh, this seems like it's going to be great, and then the enemy team just like moves the other direction. It's like, oh, never mind. That was...
I see people using it more like Rek'Sai's ult just to get back somewhere into lane.
Well, it's almost like it almost becomes, oh, hey, you were able to wipe the team there. Well, let me grab the AD carry real quick and let's go try and take Dragon before they all respawn. Or like what I had said earlier. Oh, they hit level 6 before, like, when we did, and they were able to kill you because of it. Let me back real quick so I can get you to lane.
Yeah, I'd rather have Thresh with his lantern.
Let's
to be honest.
Let's move on and talk Vayne here, since I mean we've talked Tahm Kench ad nauseum at this point, really, with how good or bad he is. Vayne, big buff to Vayne because it allows her to get her Q back 0.5 seconds more quickly, because now it begins upon launching the attack rather than upon hitting a target, which is about 0.5 seconds depending on how far away and the travel time of it. But it means Q is coming back more quickly than it was previously. So like top level, high level, super awesome Vaynes are just a giant buff with this.
Well, more Qs if you're landing them, more mobility, more damage. Like that, it's one of those, a buff to this one thing buffed it in two directions, which really good for her.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. This really helps out the people that are already really good with the Vayne. I think it helps out her team fight a lot. I don't think it helps out her lane that much, which is her weakest phase still.
I think it does. I think this changes it so that you are Q max, I edge, or BT. Rather, I mean, you can still do the Blade of the Ruin King.
I mean, that would make her laning phase better. I'm not. I don't know if if that's gonna be her new build. I don't know.
I mean, that probably won't. It's not gonna change. But extended
I was always a
trade
fan of maxing Q first. I was always a fan of maxing Q first over W.
Yeah, I love Q max on her in lane. I think it fixes a lot of her laning problems, and the fact that she can can tumble and push somebody. I mean, it doesn't fix everything, but yeah, it allows you to trade.
Yeah.
Well, this is going back to this only being good on people that are really good at Vayne. The ability to use Q more, if you don't understand that zone that you have to sit in to be able to get those Qs off, like basically right when you use them, and continuously float that edge of being too close to get just obliterated and far enough away to continuously get Q off, this really doesn't mean anything to you.
Right. That's well said.
Yasuo got to change too. Steel Tempest Whirlwind now properly applies on-hit effects to the first target. So the Whirlwind, when he throws it, will apply on-hit effects.
I didn't even know it did that.
Yeah,
me neither.
Or it was supposed to do that.
I didn't. I had no idea it did that either.
All right.
Still gonna pick Vlad into him and not
Devour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about Zeke's Herald, the Enchantment Runeglaive, Hunter's Machete, and come back and revisit all the other changes we talked about next week, because we are just over the hour mark. So guys, I know it feels like I just shut this off and we were talking about it, but you know what? We love you. We want to make you come back for more. We want you to pine for the Trinity Force podcast.
Absolutely.
You always want to leave them wanting more.
That's right. So guys,
sorry, did I talk over a pun? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know.
No, not at all.
Oh,
it was just a saying, reinforcing what Adam was saying.
I felt like we were kind of lacking on the pirate.
Well,
puns.
we are going to set sail into next week. We will see you guys for episode 280 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
See ya.